thing we added last week or 2 weeks ago was 5 minutes with Dr. John Sviokla, my co-founder and partner and intellect extraordinaire. So, John, what wisdom do you have to share this week?
Well, I'm reminded of that old saying that that kind introduction is something my father would have been proud of, and my mother would have believed it. The but I wanted to talk for the next 5 minutes about what I call the law of computability, because I want to just share with you what I think is a general framework in terms of what's happening with AI and how it's driving economics and social interaction. And I'm coming to you here from San Francisco. Tomorrow I'm going to be in this data leadership series with Ray Lane and the previous president of Oracle and Sid Rizzoni from Philip Morris and some others talking about this very topic, actually. So it's great to be here. If you step back and you say, what are the economic implications of AI and generative AI? What's happening in the world? One way to think about it is that we're increasing the level of computability. And what I mean by computability is the level of knowledge of the task of interest times the level of digitization of that task of interest. I can share, Paul, too. I got this here. Here. Let's see, continue. I'm going to continue and share this guy here. Okay, we have this one. Can you guys see this?
We can, John. Sorry about that, John. That was my mistake.
No problem. So if you look at the level of knowledge of the phenomenon of interest times the level of digitization equals computability. Let me give a very simple example here, which is 70 years ago, you walk into a bank and you ask for a personal loan. They didn't have credit cards back then, right? And what happens? The bank manager says, "Oh, where do you go to church? Who's your family? Do you hang out in the local bar too much?" and so forth. And they make a credit decision, what that human being used to do. I went to get some new Apple equipment because I wanted to upgrade my environment here. I had some old stuff. And so I go online and I got the new Apple credit card from Goldman Sachs. And I gave them 4 pieces of information. They turned around and literally in less than 2 minutes, I had a $40,000 line of credit with a virtual credit card. And then I wanted to get the little fancy white credit card mailed to me. And so that is computability, and billions of decisions are being made because they're computable. What are other areas like this? Program trading. When you think about it, the algorithms that drive what is being shown to you on these different media, the computers are already thinking, they're already computing. And if you are an organization, in terms of the business implications, if you're an organization that can compute at a higher level than someone else on a task that creates economic value or is of value to your clients, you will win. So let's say that back when Progressive, for example, the insurance company, was competing with Allstate and State Farm and so forth. If you go back in the history of that, what happened is that if you wanted to insure a motorcycle, Allstate did not insure motorcycles. Well, Progressive came along. So they just had a categorization thing. They said, sorry, motorcycle, no. Progressive came along. They said, oh, you're a 66-year-old man and you just bought a Harley Davidson for $17,000 and you are probably going to drive it about 4 hours on every other weekend during the summer. That's a good risk and we can insure that. So they actually went to correlation and were able to skim the market on price, open up that category. And if you look now, everyone, the whole thing about personal insurance is now much more computable. It's gone to correlation. And then if you look at what Progressive did next, they got Snapshot, which was they were the first one to do drive by the mile and we will give you a price. They're almost to a causal model. So they are winning in the marketplace and they're skimming on price and not skimming. They're getting better price and better risk in terms of, because they can compute better than the competition. Same thing's true of Geico, which is at the core of Warren Buffett's enterprise, because with Geico, he has what's called a combined ratio, which is everything except the investment stuff, of 85 cents, which is industry leading along with Progressive. And so he's basically buying dollars for 85 cents because he can compute something no one else can. If you can do that, whether it's in the field of inspection, gee, look at my products, can I compute what it is, answers, decision making, and so forth, you win. So that's the law of computability. For those of you who are interested, this is a little more academically focused. The Management Information Systems Quarterly Executive, and I've got a paper on this that's just gone through their editorial review. I'm reviewing it, and will be available. We'll be happy to share this with you in the next Learning Lab, which gives more detail on the law of computability. So hope you find that useful.
Fantastic, John. Yeah, and it's just hard to get your head around. Things even 2 years ago we thought were not computable actually turns out to be very computable. Writing poems is very computable. Doing sitcom jokes in Hollywood's very computable, and they had a 6-month strike about that. Some people believe that understanding whale sounds is computable and that we'll actually be able to move that. So things that were outside a realm of understanding or even potentiality is very real for this
Hey,
concept.
can I just say, this past weekend I was at my 45th Harvard reunion, and the guy who was the chairman of the Directors Guild for some time was on stage, and he said, we won 5 years of reprieve during those strikes. He said, but he said the studios are going to come back with a vengeance. He said they are gonna automate the living daylights out of this thing. So that's a prediction from somebody in the field.
Well, we'll look forward to that because I think it's just going to be more creativity and more options. So thank you, John.